All right, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Matt. If you are watching, no, we're not at a coffee shop. No, we don't have coffee, but it's okay because coffee with a friend is not a place, it's a state of mind. And today I am here having coffee with my friend Ciarrai, who's visiting from San Francisco. And we go way back and we're living in New York together at one point. Part of our first tour, my first tour as a musician, made lots of art and have reconnected in recent years. And they came out to visit me, and we just got back from the hot springs and have been hanging out and talking about the internet, about the future, AI, art, comedy, filmmaking, the whole gamut. And today we are going to be covering some fun topics. But first, here, let's cut to a wide. That's right, we're professional. For the people who are audio only, I just cut to a angle to be all inclusive.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the show, Ciarrai. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Denver, for being here with your son. I got to experience some weather, inclement weather. That was interesting. It's like the maybe the only rain cloud. So I brought a rain cloud from San Francisco, everyone. That was me.
Good to you.
And today it was nice and sunny, so really appreciating
Yeah.
nature.
So we're doing it a little bit different today. I opened up spinthewheel.io, and it's an app where you can add different topics, and you randomly
Do you
spin
have
a wheel.
business affiliation with this website at all?
Nope, there's
Okay.
no sponsorship. But if they're interested in collaborating, I am willing to talk to them. And also, LaCroix, if you're listening, I think that we could be business partners if you want to get some of those sweet 100 views that I seem to rack in quite naturally.
Nice.
All right, so
In the
let's go and
hundreds.
kick it off. All right, we're spinning.
Ooh.
We're spinning. Topic 1, fitness.
There we go.
All right. So, yeah. What have you been learning lately just in your own kind of experience with getting healthy or working out, and kind of do you have any advice for me? Because I've been trying to work out and doing it in the healthiest of ways. Yeah. What does fitness inspire for you?
So, fitness, let's think of the word fitness. For Matt and I, fitness, the word represented a very interesting time in our life. It was a gallery / music venue run out of a basement, all concrete basement, with a lot of problematic, just everything. A lot of things were problematic, but it was also a space to freely just be weird. Just be weird and be in community and have friendships. So when I say fitness, I'm like, wow, that was the only thing I could relate to it at that time. I didn't have a fitness routine. And I would probably make fun of people that had a fitness routine. And I did try to go to yoga, couldn't fully connect or commit to it. And I also thought it was too expensive. So there was like a price, a gap that was based on finances and me not being able to fully engage in that culture. And the alcoholism that I was dealing with in denial, draining my energy and desire and motivation to have that goal to commit to fitness.
Yeah. I have a distinct memory of going to fitness, and it was during one of the weeks when I was trying to quit drinking, and a mutual friend of ours was also attempting to quit drinking.
Yeah.
And I just remember all of us were really happy for them that they were quitting drinking, and then I was inspired and I was like, if they could do it, I can do it. And then it just wasn't enough, and we both kind of started drinking again. And I saw them at the art gallery, and we both had 4 Locos, and what was playing was Kendrick's pull up, drink, sit down, drink, stand up, drink. And we made eye contact in this weird way that we both were like, oh, you're not out yet. And it's
Yeah.
neither am I.
That song is so interesting. It's about becoming an alcoholic. And I think when he released that, he was maybe still dealing with being an alcoholic because it was at the beginning of his career. So he had begun the process to get off of that. And now we see the fruits of that. But yeah, like, I think I've just been trying to organically ease into what I want my body to look and feel like, and just really listen to it. When I am angry or need to decompress energy and I'm too hyper, I have within walking distance, like a block away, access to a gym that will be open till midnight. And that has been a huge blessing. And I have 2 gym memberships. Like, I really have to think about where I'm at, where I started and was like, I can't afford a yoga class. What is it, $25 a pop? I can't do this. And getting to a place where I now have 2 different gym memberships based on the fact that I gave myself a chance at the more affordable gym and tried it and figured out that I needed something quieter in order to focus myself. But I had to go through the trial of like spending a good 6 months, at a Planet Fitness first, the most affordable. So like my spending didn't feel like out of control. And once I outgrew that, I was like, oh, you know what? It would be nice to have like a spa or sauna within my gym. Let me research. Did the research, transferred to what I'm calling like the next kind of gym, which is like a 24-hour, everyone goes. Everyone's working really hard because there is a moment of like, we are trying to level up. And those gyms are great for that. They're really noisy. They're really like trying to get you pumped up. And I just stayed consistent in that. I didn't realize that I was creating this path just naturally by like listening, just like being very attentive to my needs and also I was being influenced by people at work that I was like, oh, this is my friend and I value their opinion. Let me try and just like really connect with them in this way. And then we can both talk about our experiences, going. And then eventually, because everyone's very introverted in San Francisco, so it's almost like you have to do this roundabout dance of even like courting friends. And I'm not used to that. And it's very drawn out and makes me feel wild that, do they want to be my friend? Like, didn't I make it clear that I wanted to hang out and it's not happening? So everything is a process, and I'm learning to be patient, which I know that New York didn't allow me to be patient enough in order for me to realize that fitness was a really good option, like probably the most affordable option with the amount of money I was spending on my vices, in comparison. And that graduation to that next level gym, and then realizing, ooh, wait, now I have another milestone I've hit naturally. I want my space to be quieter, still have the amenities, and maybe feel a little more like refined for me to feel like I deserve to be in that space. Like that's part of like getting rid of that trauma of like, I don't deserve, wherever that's coming from. It's like, no, I'm going to place myself in a place where I think I don't belong because of society norms or like classist, protocol. I'm like, I'm in the one of the best cities in the world, has this like rich history of queer culture and like, really like a lot of activism and like, yeah, and I need that to be visible. So part of my journey is to put myself in places where I feel like I don't belong. So if I feel like, oh God, why are people acting so snooty? Let me show up. Let me bring the funk into the like high tea or like the, and just like really just say I'm here. Like, what do you, talk
Right.
to me if you want to. If
Yeah.
you don't want to, I'll bear the brunt of your judgment, whatever. But I'm here. And I would record podcasts outside of, because it's part of a hotel, this like new level of like gym life is like quiet out of a hotel and just a different experience. So
Sure.
I feel like I'm practicing for that at every moment because I'm of the generation that wasn't privileged enough to like have the spark right from the get. And be told you can do it. You can do it without going to school, there was too many confusing aspects in my millennial, upbringing,
Yeah.
which contributes to all the confusion and how I connect things so like randomly.
Well, and
yeah.
the benefits that I've started noticing is it helps me with my anxiety.
Absolutely.
It helps me with when I'm having difficulties with someone. It's a coping mechanism, right? And choosing healthy coping mechanisms instead of unhealthy ones has been a big part of my recovery.
Yeah.
Talk to me a bit about the importance of like a morning routine and what yours is, and I'll go into mine and we can kind of talk about that.
So again, it's like I can play back the memories of when I would try to go to the gym and I was in New York at my like heaviest. I did attempt. I had my gym membership. I really did try. What I wasn't doing was focusing on how I was feeling day to day at the beginning and at the end. There's certain hygienes that or like routines that have to happen in order for us to like fully get the benefits of both sleep and wakefulness, like feeling energized to start our days. So I wasn't seeing any of the value. And it wasn't until like I evaluated this past year, I'm like, wow, my partner really, helped me enlighten myself about the importance of having a sleep routine. And then that then informs your wakeful, getting up in the morning routine. And part of the waking up routine was he was particularly reading a self-help book written by Tim Ferriss that's like very, Tim Ferriss, cis male, but he's very good at like compiling data from very successful people. So all these like super rich, high level entrepreneurs, he has their work routines, their workout routines, their daily morning get up routine, their sleep routines. And it was in his mind, he's like, this is gold. I'm putting it in a book. And this is part of his journey. So when we were reading these routines, we were able to, the author allows you, not that you need allowance, but he like reminded you, you're allowed to kind of like pick and choose from various different body types, different maybe environmental situations. Like what speaks to you the most? And you can pick and choose. If you like the Tim Ferriss way, go for it. If you like part of the Tim Ferriss way and some other parts of some other way, and then of course, by all means, that's the point. And then write about it, your journey, your specific. So him just like the way he wrote it in that style was so like inviting you to participate and open source it and edit it for your life that I didn't feel trapped by his, hey, start a morning routine or you're never going to get rich.
There's just guidelines. Yeah. And then, that self-reflection to figure out what works for you.
Exactly. So really being, again, listening to what your needs are. And I brought up with you specifically because you told me you go to the gym later in the evening. And I said, well, I'll just give you my little 2 cents on advice on that and how you can, if and when you're ready to turn on an extra switch, that switching to doing morning starting as your gym, start time in the mornings as opposed to the evenings, and then eventually in the future having morning and evening gym moments that your body craves in order to start yourself up and wind yourself down. And that's just like I'll take books that I want to like catch up on or audiobooks that I need to like be in on. If I have like a Substack or if I have newsletter digest, I'll take that and start reading and feel productive. I also have the luxury, like the machines that I use at the gym have like, you can play chess or there's like different like, memory games you can like fuck with, which I like, they kind of pass the time a lot faster.
Well, and I just want to interject for anyone listening, this conversation is coming from a place of love and love for our bodies and appreciation for it. And, I have an acting role that I'm going to be in coming up, The Recollectors, directed by Jesse Lockwood. And we're starting to film episode 2 of Really Late Night. And I kind of confided in him that to play Toby in his film, I want to lose some weight, And I just have been like wanting to do that from a place of love and a place of, because it will help with my anxiety and with just, it feels like something that I want the character to kind of embody, and just being appreciative. And we talked about this before we got into the studio, appreciative of the body, even during COVID when I was at my heaviest, And just looking at it and being like, it's such a miracle that we do have these bodies that can fluctuate, that can adapt to the circumstances. And it's something that we shouldn't demean in ourselves, but something that we should just love.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that conversation we were like, I am connecting to certain YouTube channels that are focusing in on spirituality. And one of the topics was weight gain. And weight gain after you think you've like hit a mark, like a milestone of like being able to like get down to an ideal quote unquote weight. And how I experienced whatever this weight gain is, because people then feel uncomfortable. You're like, but I thought I was enlightened. I thought I hit a milestone in my like physicality, and like I was like pumping, whatever that feeling is. And I was like, I could see where that happened to me, although it didn't really like bother me that I was like holding water, or like I knew I was holding water weight. And it was interesting. And then this person on YouTube, who's like a spiritual guru, had their own journey, was able to break it down for me in a loving way and say, so my clients come to me, they are like a little bit like worried, like, why am I holding weight? Why am I gaining weight? Am I still not done with the trauma? Because I can tell you I've flushed a lot of trauma out. So I know that I've processed. I know that I've like gotten through a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of the major stuff. So that flushing, when you feel like maybe your body is holding on and you're not sure why, you need someone to kind of come out and say, this is part of that journey. Your body is now responding to a difference in density. And that density has to do with a lightness of how you are approaching life. And it translates to the physical and how you relate to gravity. If you take dance classes or even when you're exercising, you're testing your body in ways. Like I think of like, oh, if I like flapped my arms like long enough, could I take flight? And even just that thought and like going into that state and really psyching myself out, I draw energy into my arms and I'm like feeling that energy kind of pulsate out. So it's like really, grabbing onto the energy. So whatever water gain, I think she's just being sensitive to how her clients are coming back and saying, why am I gaining weight? And she's like, wait. First of all, let's fix the language. You're not gaining, holding. It's like your body is translating this shift. There needs to be a bridge between one density and the next density, and like the water holding water weight and your body needing to have that in its system. It knows why it's doing that. The same way it knows how to be a machine of breathing. It's its own machine that pumps and breathes. It knows. So that when we stop, it gives us a harsh signal to, hey, I need to do my job and you're blocking me from doing it. So we need to like not block. We need to just allow in whatever shape that takes.
And shout out to the body, because in the body we get to experience things like love, redemption, envy, jealousy, hope. Because of this, we get to experience these beautiful, beautiful things. All right, I'm going to spin the wheel and we're going to keep going on. All right, here we go. We're spinning.
I need like an audience, like, yeah, like The Price is Right, just chanting. Ooh,
community. All right, what does the word community spark for you?
I've been working on my trauma with community because it's been traumatic in the sense of like when you grow up feeling excluded and then in your, let's say it was my 20s, my early 20s. So like this very important, like I'm going to let loose time in my life. I experienced the most community and it was super helpful, super damaging, super creative, super inspiring, super dangerous, super safe. It was all the things. And it was just me testing boundaries of what it meant to be in community with people. I think that the pandemic was the first time that that test was even harsher, and it wasn't even me pushing that boundary. It was just the universe pushing the boundary and saying, well, who are your real friends and who is your real community? I'm going to test this for you. And it was universal. for all of us, right? Because you had relationships tested, you had friendships, family, everything across the board. Everyone felt some kind of way. And I felt that my ties to community and queer community, like not just in New York, but outside of New York, I was able to tap in to smaller clusters of queer community that were maybe neglected or felt left out of what is like a New York queer experience, or an LA, West Coast, even San Francisco, although San Francisco it's been very reduced, but still accessible. So being in San Francisco and being the outsider, especially if you're from the East Coast, they're very wary. They're like, oh, we know you. You're just trying to you're Mr. McSpeedy over there trying to get everybody going. And I'm like, yeah, because y'all are depressed. Let's go. No judgment. No, nothing. Let's just go. And I have to really, really harness that energy, like really talk to myself and be like, they're not quite ready yet. They'll be ready and they will listen. There are people out there that are willing to listen and push those boundaries with you as an artist. But it's going to take a little bit. They have to trust you. Really, you have to build trust. You have to really show them that you are about the city and not just because, oh, you just ended up here and you're going to be passing through anyway. So why should we care?
Right. And all major cities kind of have that element of, oh, people move here and then they're gone. And then they move here and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And then the new one comes in and they're gone, you know? I remember distinctly noticing that in New York when I lived there.
Yeah.
That people would be like, I'm calling it. I can't make it here anymore. I'm out. You know?
Yeah.
And make it is charged. But that's
Right.
that's the vibe there, you know? And I think LA has that same make it thing. And even myself didn't even know that I was leaving New York until a week later. And I told everyone, like, sorry, everyone, game's up.
Yeah.
I got to go back.
Yeah. And yeah, that does look different for everyone because I was like, I thought I was going insane because I kept hearing what was like perceiving these like negative thoughts, but that people were saying. I was like, are they saying these negative things or am I just like literally psychotically hearing these things? Like, what is the deal? And so I gave myself the benefit of the doubt. I was like, I'm not going to accuse them. And I'm also not going to be judging myself about being crazy. Like, no, none of that's happening. I'm just going to like say, okay, this just gave me insight onto how people could potentially be perceiving me. They're kind of annoyed because I'm a troublemaker and I'm alcoholic and it's unpredictable. You know these things about yourself. You know that this is what's happening. What is the problem then? If you overhear somebody be like, man, she needs to get out of here. Get her out of the city. Because I'm a disruptive force, right? But what I was confusing that with was like, they're not letting me do my art. And that my art had to be disruptive and it had to be subversive. And it had to be all these like things that were like destructive by nature. Like we're just going to like ruin a stage or ruin a space or just because you could. And I think that stems from like originally when I was first attempting to like be a performance artist, I was accused again, you said making it charged word, but I was accused literally of desiring or being ambitious and then that being perceived as, oh, you just want to sell out and be famous. And I felt so guilty that that's how I could have been perceived, that my like curiosity and like everything was new and they were just like not about that. They're like, you're too open. Like, what is this? Why are you so open like that? And so I really had to shut down a little bit to fit in with the punks. I was too bright for the punks. And then that sort of, I don't know. I was like, wait, but I never actually wanted to be famous. Like that, those thoughts never crossed my mind until you just said it. And now I'm confused because I was just trying to like be open to all the mediums, all the genres, invite all the collaborations. That's why I was open. And it was read the wrong way. And so then when I moved on to like, oh, I found my queer community, it was me and you, Matt. And I'll recall this tiny memory, but like I saw something maybe on MySpace. It was definitely MySpace. Trey LaTrash had just moved into town. I didn't know who he was. I just kept seeing these flyers with this like fake Disney aesthetic. And then there was, Beauty Bar, which was in our neighborhood. And something was being advertised for like a party. And it's like the bisexual party.
Oh,
and I was
yes.
cracking up. I was like, oh my God, Matt. It's a bisexual party with drag queens, and we get to dress up and be silly. Let's go! And I think you dressed up like Donald Duck. I don't remember what I dressed up like. So we like took the theme so literal, and it was hilarious. And we get there, and our friend was performing. Brian whatever was performing.
Right.
And it was like a really, really interesting performance. And Dan was also with him. And it's like our two collective, like the noise crowd, the noise nerdy kids, and then the queer drag queens were married in that moment. And then it kind of like exploded after that. Because then came the Spectrum, came the Dream House, and then this like hardcore, like, let's go all out on programming. Let's offer like a safe space for queers to like engage and like curate and do whatever they want and have like the wildest parties and still be affecting the culture because we are magnets to the culture, and vice versa. We like put it out, they come back, whatever. And yeah, I wanted to be a part of that. And it's like intuitively I knew that like who I had to follow, like what White Rabbit, and Trey was the first one. And so I like kind of latched onto him, assisted him for a while until I fucked up because I was drinking, and like, that's its own little thing. But Trey then led me to Spectrum, and it was just like a natural progression of like building family and community through that. Dysfunctional, very dysfunctional. But at least I had a place to land that wasn't like run by strictly just a white presence. And like, I definitely didn't fit in with that. So I had my like headquarter. I'd be like, okay, Bushwick, yeah, sure. There's a bunch of white gentrifiers, but at least I have this like home,
Right.
So
yeah.
that was really...
And like the importance of curating a space that is comfortable for queer people and people of color.
Right.
Because just if you aren't intentional, the defaults always slip back into the, like, systems have a way of regenerating themselves. So if you're not intentional and you're not carving out those places, it ends up like alienating a lot of people.
Yeah, for me, it was just like really sad, I think, to see. We did make a very concerted effort to have therapeutic and self-care services, but it just wasn't no one was like hardcore about it. I guess the people that were hardcore or could have been hardcore felt like they didn't have support. And so even though they were given space there were very specific moments where it's like, okay, we're going to allow this like more sober straight edge person to fully be engaged and in charge. And it's like they got exhausted because everyone around them was like too alcoholic, too into drugs. It's not ideal. If we're all on separate pages about self-care, it doesn't matter how many Pilates classes you offer or however many, I don't know, therapeutic things you can offer. They're going to go back to retoxing again.
Right. I remember one of their nights was called Retox.
Yes. And we played.
Spells out a lot.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just like, it was just lack of information. And maybe they thought that I was more schooled in things of that nature and that I could handle my own. I was a baby. I was a drinker. Like, I knew how to fucking drink, and maybe like, the basics of like cocaine, which is not the same as, okay, we are selling you Molly, Adderall, sassafras, a concoction of CB2B, whatever hallucinogen, and some ketamine, you got to get in there. And it's like, who said that was okay? Why was that okay for me to do?
Right.
And like, I would not, if I was in that space, that's the thing, is like, no one's head was on right. So there's even the ones that were the more responsible, they just kind of felt like they didn't have control either. I remember people, when I would get jobs they'd be like, oh, that job seems to be like helping Ciarrai like get a structure in their life. They didn't know how to like be a friend and just give me the real deal, like
Right.
tell me to my face. And that's the only regret about community that I had, where it's like, I wish it wouldn't have been about like, oh, let me just always look good in your eyes, or like always be fun and like, you know, I'm ready to drink whenever you are. And it's no, it was like no one could reach to each other. It was just bad.
Wow.
Anyways, we all had our journey and we all had our like,
Right. And our community at that point, a part of our community was this party culture. And I think you and I are now looking for a community that's outside of that.
Yeah.
So for me, film is how I connect to people, and I try to make a nice, vibrant ecosystem for everyone to participate in really late night and also Art Show TM.
yeah.
But you know, that was part of the drive, and it was part of everyone trying to make themselves feel better. And not everyone had a problem, but if you had a problem, you could hide in that place. And also, all those drugs and drinking make everyone kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
So it's hard to also tell, like, is this just what happens when you get really drunk and you say something
Yeah.
mean and have to say sorry the next day?
Yeah.
Or is this a deeper wound that this person's trying to, like, heal?
Right. And yeah, violations happening and you having to amend to yourself and be like, it's okay. You put yourself in a bad situation. It's okay. Whatever happened. It's okay.
Yeah.
And processing through that. So right now, I still go to parties, and I still, and I've actually been able to go to parties and just be sober and feel this like energy from the music. And like, I have at least one person who's like, I'm down to like go dancing whenever you want. And I made a friend recently, very organically, who was like down to like just go dancing. And the funny thing is, like, the queer interaction was extra funny because I had to clarify pronouns because they were, or she, because she didn't tell me they were they, but she was like, just to be transparent, I'm not looking for girls. And I was like, I didn't respond with anything in that IRL moment other than part of me is going to take a pause. There's no need to react because I want to build community with this person, right? I want to build a friendship. And if they're perceiving this as something more than that, then let them perceive it, but it's not for you to defend. That's their issue. They needed to say that. So don't take offense to it. And then when I processed it and we parted ways, I was able to text her and say, hey, just for your information, my pronouns are. And I was able to advocate for myself in a very clear way. And they were like, cool. So they didn't mean anything by anything they said that was gendered. It was maybe just a clarification of like, don't get your hopes up if that is your expectation, because I can only meet you a certain amount of the way. And then beyond that, it's like not for me in the cards or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay. No, that makes sense. That's a parameter. That's a boundary. I don't know. It just gives me a better idea of who I'm dealing with in general.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So recently I was at an event. I was one of the co-producers. We were filming it and capturing it. And it was a networking event for it was a business event for men of color, largely Black. And when I was talking to my co-producer, I was like, oh yeah, the way I framed it, it's really cool. There's a lot of, shots with like shoulders, and it's like really capturing the community aspect of we're coming together for, like these Black men in the business world. And he corrected me, and he's like, it's not Black men, it's, men of color, and just correct me. And I was like, oh, okay, got it, men of color. And then right after that, we were doing an interview, and he's interviewing, he's a Black man, and I'm Latino, just to give it all full context. And we're interviewing a Black woman, and he's like, why are you here as a woman of color in business? And she corrected him, and she says, I don't use woman of color, I use Black woman. And he was like, got it? How are you here showing up as a Black woman in business? And those 3 moments, I actually just got chills thinking about it. It's just from a place of respect. And I think there's so much of that white fragility that would never happen in those three sequences. We had this like shorthand of you can get it wrong and just fix it, and we move on. You didn't offend anyone. It's like just use the proper word to describe who you're talking to, just out of respect.
Someone's asking, it's a need, right? It's someone's expressing the need for their purpose of processing and perception. Like they're letting you in on their perception by changing it. Even though to some third person it could be like, but what's the difference? Individually there are nuances that help with that person's perception.
Yeah.
And they're allowing you a moment to step into their perception in order for you to speak on an even playing field.
Right. And if we're going to talk, let's talk. Let's put it in the full context.
And it's like the interviewer is subjecting himself. That's part of the process, is you're allowing for this other human to express their need, and then you respectfully respond. If you want to be a sensationalist, like a lot of weird journalists can be, then that's a different path. But like, and it's inflammatory and unnecessary. It's like, why?
Right. Yeah. No hate bait here.
Yeah.
We're not trying to hate bait. We're just trying to
elaborate.
Thank you. I had a bunch of other 8 words that were not appropriate. Fitness.
Back to fitness again.
I didn't know that it lets you. We're gonna spin again, everyone. I thought it would like cancel it. You know.
Oh, it really wants community fitness. This is like the tarot of.
Remove. That's how you do it.
Okay, got it.
Sorry,
Once
community, you're out of here.
And fitness.
Do you mind stopping your phone and
Yeah.
hitting record again, just so that way they're easier to transfer? All right, everyone.
Oh God, yeah.
Everyone listening and not watching, we're spinning again. Wild card, ChatGPT.
All right.
Did you want to say something?
That we can, when I send clips to you, I can reduce the size of the clip, meaning not the size, the length of the clip, to kind of chop it up before I send it to you, or
I was thinking we could just airdrop it when we get back to the shop, the old really late night. This is a good chance to do I didn't know you need a login for ChatGPT.
Just do continue with Google. Oh, yeah.
I could do it. We had a bio break, and that's why the conversation is going to be picking up midway. I wanted to thank everyone for listening, and there is something that I've been wanting to get kind of off my chest, and that I think it might help some creatives. So, really late night, the pilot has been completed, and a lot of things are starting to line up, and I'm starting to see success for the first time. And some friends and some relatives have been really congratulatory. And I've even had some people say like, wow, I'm honestly a little envious, which was weird at first. I didn't know how to take that, of like, you get to do what you love and you're making it happen. And it dawned on me that there was a long period of time where I was actually kind of embarrassed about my level of creative output, or my lack of material, or my status. And I learned how to kind of just live with like kind of being embarrassed by my life. And I feel like there's not a lot of stories that kind of allow you to just be okay. Like maybe your life is a little embarrassing right now. It's not the end of the world. Like I had 2 car wrecks back to back that weren't my fault, that caused so much debt, and I'm still working through it. And it's not a character flaw. It's like just what happens. And so much of our media is about like, you got to be number one, and you got to get the girl, and you got to get all the money and the success and the awards. And that's why I crave some Greek tragedies. We need stories about people failing, because that's what like life is comprised of. So wrapping this up, if you want to be creative if you want to be successful in a creative endeavor, you have to be comfortable with there might be a phase when you're the only one that kind of likes what you're doing. And sometimes you're going to be putting out bad stuff, and that's okay. And you'll be talking and no one's listening, and that's okay. But if you keep with it, at the other end, you'll like start to refine it. And if your life is kind of a little bit of a mess right now, it's okay. You can be like, Matt was a mess.
Yeah.
And look at him. So, with that, we are back, and welcome back to the show, Ciarrai. We just spin the wheel, and it is a wild card chat GPT. And
How
being
convenient.
that, yeah, it was funny when you were away. I like covered the screen and typed in my password, and I was like, "Cut to camera 2, so that way they don't see it." And camera 2 had a better angle of my password. I was like, "No." I need to change it up. I need to update it anyways. Juggalo 420 money sign isn't cutting it anymore.
420 money sign. Oh, man.
All right. So, being that you are the Chat GPT AI enthusiast expert, I was trying to say connoisseur, but I almost went with concierge.
Concierge. There you go. That's the one. Hospitality.
Wild card. What's the prompt to give Chat GPT?
So we might want to ask it something that it's not typically asked or told. The other day, I told ChatGPT that I was very grateful for its help. I was like, thanking. So that was one exercise. I want you to tell me because I feel like I know too much. And what I can do as someone who has like read about like prompting is just this now it's going to become a skill set that will replace what we see as sort of the menial or like let's say fast food job landscape. And what people on a lot of fronts are trying to do is really design these new positions and inform people on that end that these new positions are available. And that's a whole process because that's activist work too. Because you're not going to convince a billionaire to like put any funding into, making your workforce disappear, therefore having him to invest quicker, like more money into AI. Like it's not ideal for them to go too fast either. So it's a balance between how fast is this information disseminating and the power of this the algorithm in the Chat GPT and the processing, because it's like artificial brain. So what do we want to ask it?
What about what is a 3-word phrase to inspire me in the morning?
Phrase, you meant?
Pahase.
Yeah. And you said it so confidently. You're like, phase.
You know what? I confidently just type without looking. I do this thing where I look at my fingers on the keyboard.
Okay, so stop before you hit go. Here's one fun thing that I've like learned about prompt writing is that when you input something as simple as what is a 3-word phrase, it's going to give you like a very quick, generic response. And the more you go into it and sort of like mold it to your specification. So let's say, what kind of feeling do you want to experience in the morning? Do you want bliss, euphoria, energy,
regret? No,
regret? Exactly. Like what? Exactly.
I'm bad. I don't want any more regret.
As a writer, you can instigate this machine to give you a wacky feedback. But if you're being genuine, you want it for yourself and your own personal growth, you're going to want to be specific, because what part of the journey are you in? You want to feel energized in the morning, inspired in the morning. I know that you mentioned the need for a muse. Can ChatGPT help you find a muse?
Okay.
Not to derail you from your morning like inspo.
No, that's a great call.
Yeah. So it's like, as an artist, we have to be creative in how we like express ourselves to the AI, because we are now molding new cultural expressions and paradigms and answers and perspectives.
Yeah. What about this? How do I ask someone if they want to be my muse?
Ooh.
I feel like even just having a sentence is like such a breakdown into psychology, and the way that I've written this How do I ask someone if they want to be my muse?
You're like really trying to get in the back end of that.
That's like such a soft way to go about it. Because it's like, how do I approach them if they want to do something?
You're
that
already
I
asking the
want them?
consent. Yeah, you know what the conversation potentially could look like. And
This is it. Yeah. Okay. So it's not that. It's
where maybe?
where?
Like make it more location based, or do you want it to be? How specific do you need it to be? That's the thing.
That's a good question. So, and before we ask ChatGPT, I do want to unpack the concept of a muse.
Yes.
And kind of pull it apart and just,
We can start by asking ChatGPT what it thinks a muse is.
Okay.
Let's do this little train of thought, free train of thought.
What is a muse?
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT. I don't know. Someone say hit it. Hit it.
You broke it.
Oh no.
Is it in? Is it answering within there, that little bar? What is it doing?
I don't know. Let's just open this. Let's refresh.
Yeah, it might have expired. It does that from time to time. You have to kind of re-log in. Yeah, and these are glitches that people are experiencing. Like sometimes if there's too many people all at once, like when it first came out, there was huge traffic jams. Like it was just slow. Because could it be the orientation of the what do you call it? Oh, Matt, you broke it.
I mean, we wanted a wild card.
That is a wild card.
Is there a mobile app?
Yes, sir. Well, not a mobile app. You just have to go on your browser.
Computer. Open browser.
You can green screen it in the back.
I would like to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Siesta, the drink that helps you sleep in the middle of the day. Siesta. Why? Because you do what you want. Just so everyone is clear, that is not a real product. That is what we call in the comedy business satire. I would like to give an actual shout out to Comedy Business School, run by Scott Dickers, one of the founders of The Onion, who has been teaching me quite a bit about how to make really late night into a functioning business. Yeah, that word isn't bad.
Comedy business, a silly business.
Hey.
Yeah, that whole thing about business, that should have been on the wheel, maybe. It's like I'm exploring topics that I maybe like 5 years ago would laugh at people if they brought it up. And be like, oh God, here we go. These adults trying to adult. And like no one knows what they're doing. And it's like I got to remind myself, I was like, I was such a good adult in my like 18 to 25 range. I was super responsible, had multiple full-time situations with school and work, paid my rent, had my apartment, and yeah, I just wasn't emotionally an adult. And now that that emotional part has caught up to the like physical representation of age, which is still not even, I don't feel how I thought a 40-something-year-old would feel like. It's not, it doesn't feel any kind of way. Yeah.
My friend Patricia Eagle, who I just read her memoir called Being Mean. It's a very beautiful, amazing book. And she told me that when she looks in the mirror, she still feels like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, even though she doesn't look like one, she feels like one, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's definitely going to happen to me because that's what's happening to me now.
Yeah. And it's a philosophy of like, I don't always like to be like, oh, I'm new every day, because sometimes I do I'm like going into a past memory and being like, hey, but can you just clarify what that was? And for me, the clarification, whatever the response may be, as long as it's like spoken about, it makes me feel at ease. But it's like learning also that I don't always, I shouldn't feel entitled to a response always, you know? And it's that entitlement. I'm like, it's the reverse of how I grew up because I was always like not given reasons for a lot of like behavior that I was just like confused by, religious like upbringing. So, and when I did ask for clarification, it was just like, no, this is just how it is. So when I ask for it now, that clarification is just kind of part of love language. It's part of like, but just open up a little bit. You don't have to give me the full rundown. It's like, if you can engage me in a tiny bit, I will appreciate that. I will see the value in that, and I will respect the boundary. But if I get nothing, then I'm going from a place of nowhere, and then I feel lost in terms of like, it is very important to like understand how we relate to each other as humans. Humans do need, and some humans need more information than others. Like our perceptions are not the same, and I want to be clear, and yeah. But anyways, what is a muse?
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm grateful to be in a space where, as an adult, kind of trying to make the world better by contributing instead of taking away.
Yeah.
And a part of that is starting to know what needs are and how to communicate those needs.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay, so a muse is a person, often a woman, who inspires creativity in an artist, writer, or musician. In ancient Greek mythology, muses were goddesses who presided over the arts and sciences and inspired creativity in mortals. Today, the term muse is used more broadly to describe anyone or anything that serves as a source of inspiration for creative endeavors. This could be a person, a place, a piece of music, a work of art, or even a memory or emotion. A muse can be seen as an important catalyst for creativity and innovation, helping to stimulate new ideas and perspectives.
Catalyst, that
Wow.
word.
Catalyst.
So the first thing that came to mind when the definition was further clarified was we take it out of the context of gender and this focal point of just over objectifying women, and we go back to the objects and the like places and the times and the feelings. And like I can relate to going to like the symphony or the opera and feeling in that moment inspired by the production, the hard work that goes into maintaining that classical form in a modern context, and how to like really show people the value, like the fact that the arts has to like beg for money half the time in this country specifically is like it's harsh. And it's still not being addressed because we've now shifted into a different plane of existence that is like, well, you can still make your art, and I heard the kids are making money off their art now, so go. Like, what's stopping you now? They're right. Nothing is really stopping us now. But there's a lot of people that were traumatized by like the lack of those resources at very important times in their life that can't just drop what they're doing and do everything. But there is hope. There's hope in like how I see you, and you're asking a machine how and what and where to find a muse. So there are hybrid ways of existing in life, and we just have to be open and not scared. It is scary at the rate of it, how it's changing, but I want that to be translated into why is it scary? It's scary because there are scary people in the world, right? So why don't we talk about the scary people and like really try and figure out what's their true agenda? Like, why are we not agreeing on getting to a consensus for whatever that existence is? And just, I don't know. A muse for me is a feeling. It's a feeling that can either come, like it said, in the package of a human or an object or a presentation. or meeting someone that you like, oh my God, hold in such regard can all of a sudden inspire that as well, like a brief meeting. Nature. Nature is one that's like, as I am not fully connected to San Francisco, I don't fully buy into what it is because I'm not sure it knows what it is. It's like in mourning as well. Like a lot of communities were displaced. A lot of, not just these tech bros left, it was literally the culture of that city got displaced and broken off. And the people that are left there are like business owners that are trying to survive, you know? And then all of the like supporting staff. So a city being a muse, you know, I like to think that like being able to experience Denver in a different context than what I had experienced when I first came here is important to me. To like share in your vision is part of, you know, fueling the muse, the city as a muse, you know, being like, you know what, Denver has that potential. It has that heart and it has that ability to come back in a strong way or to come into its true like nature, whatever that looks like.
Right. Yeah, maybe what I'm wanting to search for is a muse like collection that's not just a person but can be places. Like I think even I went to the Clifford Steele Museum recently and just big abstract expressionism, and that was very inspiring.
Right.
But I have found that there are moments in my life when I have had someone that I've kind of created art for and art with that had this muse
effect
feeling. It's when I was reading that definition, it's like I've experienced that, right? And I think that for me, there are these moments of it's like as if I was working at a deli counter, right? And we don't have any of those pulling tickets and people just come up, right?
Yeah.
And there's like objectifying people and then there's like this phenomenon of being inspired by people. And it's like, okay, which one of you customers got here first?
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
like what
yeah.
came first? It was our nature to be like, I want to be connected to someone and make art for them and about them.
Yeah.
Or is it a product of systems of objectifying women, you know?
Okay, I would say that the safest bet would be to internally, you yourself, create, like really nurture the fire, that creative energy that you're trying to attract, right? Everyone's like magnetism, manifestation, whatever, you attract what you are basically. And sometimes that comes when we are in denial, we realize that nothing's coming to us and we can't connect the two. So it's just being real with yourself and being like, okay, if I can design the perfect scenario where this like muse entity feeling is traveling through a body vessel, let's say, how would I manifest that? What situations do I have to change in my life / engage in order for those things to happen a little more organically? And being that the city is very manageable, I feel like it's literally just mapping the city and getting a feel for where you're at in the space. And then if you do not connect with the outside, if you need to be more internalized and more in a studio, then you figure that out through a digital realm and things like chat GPT. But it's just allowing for it to be like, well, if it's not happening, then maybe I need to look inside. I need to figure out what inside me is like not been like talked about with whatever the scenario might be, because it's hard to say. It's just hard to say. Or you go to the ballet, or you go to these like cultural things that happen in Denver just out of nowhere. You look up all the meetups that are having to do with like the interests that you're interested, and just like saturate yourself with what your city has to offer.
Right.
And I feel like in San Francisco, I emotionally just broke down because of the pandemic, was super depressed, was in recovery, which was very hard on my body to transition. And then when I did make the transition, my anger was not processed. And so I was like, I can do whatever I want because I'm fucking skinny. I look good. I don't give a fuck. And I like demanded needs and was like feeling entitled to X, Y, and Z things being a certain way in my relationship. So it's like all these things needed to get checked. And then the muse sort of the city, I'm talking about how a city can become a muse. It's like all of a sudden I was craving walking out of my house, but then I was also equally craving the beauty of solitude that I had within those four walls and like appreciating what I had like accomplished just in solitude.
Mm-hmm.
So the city becomes a muse that I can reach out to when I'm like, oh, I need space for my internal space. And at the same time, I'm able to recharge my home space by being away from it and coming back into its embrace and comfort.
Right.
And you have that with your life being how it is designed now. You have that huge ability to nurture a space that is your home base, hardcore home base and creative home base. And now what you have to do is step out of it. And you've said this, you need more sunlight. So here we go. You step out of it, you incorporate fitness into it, and you incorporate this like movement into your external world.
Right.
So you're bringing yourself out.
And thinking about it, the most powerful way is that the muse would be the product and in and of itself.
Right.
If really late night could become its own muse, regenerating its own kind of inspiration, that's the way to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that what I've made a mistake in the past is that muse character was also kind of infused with like love and attraction, but unreciprocated, right? So, you know, the genie grants wishes, but genie can't bring back the dead and can't make people fall in love. Yeah. We all know this. This is a well-known fact. Everyone knows this.
This is scientific knowledge.
This is scientifically proven.
Genie knowledge.
And it's because people are vast, infinite spaces of emotion and being, and they're not objects. I think that's what the genie is trying to say. Right. There's too much going on. You can't make someone fall in love with you.
Exactly. And because that feeling of falling in love is so chemically bound, it is, at the end of the day, if the chemicals don't fully integrate, then it's just not possible. And that's okay. It's like, it's okay. You don't have to, I don't know.
So to lighten it a bit,
yes,
I did type in, write me a script asking if someone would be comfortable being my muse.
Ooh, here comes creativity. So, human creativity.
And asking them if they'd be comfortable still is giving them agency and being like, this is what I think this is. Are you okay with that?
This is you, that you are translating for yourself in order to...
But what just came back is like the most light, fun thing. It goes, like hey there. Here we'll go.
Yeah.
So I'll play me. You play a potential muse that I'm going to
So I'm just reacting to you?
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, Ciarrai, do you want to meet me down at the coffee shop on Thursday?
Oh, you know what? I kind of quit drinking coffee, but I'll meet you for a matcha. Is that cool?
You know what? I just quit drinking matcha. But if we go there, I am kind of doing a sorbet right now. Do you want to get sorbet?
Let's go for sorbet, yeah.
I just checked the website, and the sorbet bar closes at 4, and I can't get there till 4:15.
What luck.
Across the street, there is a place that does biscotti.
Is it that like stale Italian cracker?
Yes.
I have to like dip it so many times in the espresso. Fine, okay. I'm feeling fancy today. Let's go.
Okay. Perfect. I'm a minute away. I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
Hey, I'm doing too much at once. Okay, so
Leave it
you
on
got
the
your
wide.
biscotti. I got
Yeah, meeting my okay.
Hey there, I wanted to ask you something. Would you be comfortable being a muse for me?
Oh my God. The end. Cut scene.
Right. By muse, I mean someone who inspires me creatively. I'm really drawn to your energy
Oh my
and
God, sorry.
presence, and I think you have a unique perspective that can inspire some really great ideas in my work. The fact that this is so long, it can't be this long. You're
That's
gonna
a
freak
comedy
them out.
sketch. That's a sketch right there.
Of course, I totally understand if you're not comfortable with this idea. Being a muse can be a pretty personal thing, and I don't want to make you feel like you're on the spot or anything. So what do you think? Would you be interested in talking more about what being a muse might look like, or do you need some time to think about it?
Ooh, this almost sounds like every casting call is that. Think about it. Every casting call is like they potentially want to find an it person that has whatever it is. And the movie business is fueled by this desire to find it. And I think you're just asking that universal question of like, what is it? And how can I capture it via the medium that I've chosen? Or if by some chance of destiny and fate, this it factor appears in my life and completely transforms it into something else. There's always that. It is it's like the Wheel of Fortune in tarot is kind of the it, because it is a moment where things can go any direction, and that is very exciting. It might not be exciting for everybody. Some people like to know exactly where they are heading in their life, or they like to say the place they're going and then accomplish it, which is a specific skill to want it to be in that chronological order. I feel like more creative people or whatever, that's not a judgment on people who need that sort of like timeline. It's more of like there are people who are sensitive and to certain like ways of perceiving a future, but not being bogged down in it and sort of like being in the now, but being like, wow, I see the potential and that's exciting right now. And like when I meet the person that links and is in sync with me about that vision, that's so exciting right now. And let's go. It's like get in the car and let's just drive off and start the process. So it is the excitement of something new and having the support of someone who sees the vision with you. That's what I feel like being a muse can be. I think we could also talk about like co-creation, and that co-creation is probably a better word to use than even collaboration, but co-creation in the sense of like you're looking for someone who you gel with on this plane of existence that for most normative people, it would be like, oh, we're getting married and we're like going to have a baby. And that's our co-creation.
Right.
But it's like, no, there are other ways to co-create.
Right. Like,
and this is,
instead of that, we're going to make a photography series or something.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Well, Muse, if you're out there,
Muse.
I'm going to hit you up with an email that says, hey there. I
there,
love that it's like, hey
I'm
there, would you be
wondering-
my Muse? Well, I think let's go and do a speed round because we're hitting our mark.
Right.
Let's do our speed round and then we'll wrap up this interview.
Ooh, there we go.
All
We were
right.
waiting for her.
Hot take on Kylie.
Kylie.
Hit us with it.
I believe this year, I don't know how old she is, but she might be going through her Saturn return. It's about
possible.
to.
Do you want to get a little closer to the mic too?
Yes. So Kylie Jenner is probably going to experience the biggest. She's already so accomplished, but the biggest turnaround maybe of a person who has accomplished everything in their young life, but is so unsatisfied that it's like a moment for a spiritual turnaround, right? And that's what I predict. They will either give up everything, like go a Jesus route and be like, oh, I don't need any of this because this did not satisfy anything. But she has a young baby and she is a single mother, so it might be a little more sensible than that. But I expect some sort of like revelatory, like aha, spirituality moment, and she gets back her power because she seems a little down right now.
Yeah. I will say that it's interesting to watch all the Kardashians trying to fit into TikTok because TikTok is so much more about like just be like authentic and relatable. And she was doing a lot of these like get dressed with me, and people were just like rolling their eyes.
Yeah.
Because like a get dressed and showing off all your bags and luxury is a very Instagram thing.
Yeah.
And TikTok, especially post pandemic, is like,
No.
you saw the insides of our shitty apartments. Why do we care about the inside of your beautiful mansion? Like,
Yeah.
what we have to say is more important.
Well, this is part of the journey that someone at that plane of existence, because I can't even say level, because it's like it's an unlevel playing field, and they were catapulted into a status that is very, very, very. I'm glad that she's a woman in that status. That's very helpful. But I think that she's just really a scared girl. Like, it's going back to that moment of like, when did she decide that she was going to be the CEO of the family? Like,
Right.
was that her choice fully?
Right. She's like the first billionaire, if I'm not mistaken, in the family.
And I'm going to sidetrack by saying Drew Barrymore is like the ultimate, like.
We have one last room.
Yeah, the ultimate turnaround kid, right? And someone who like experienced such crazy drug use and like imbalance in their childhood and was exposed to so much too soon. People like gave up on her. They're like, she's a lost cause. They thought she was going to OD, and her like redeeming herself and now becoming the most wholesome, genuine, like human enthusiast. She's just happy to be a human and alive. And she will take criticism and be like, sure, let's talk about it. She was on that show, well, whatever, I'm not going to sidetrack on that. But like just taking the criticism and being like, yes, I am a white woman, and how can I relate to you? So I think, like, of course, Drew Barrymore is older. She's more in a different maturity level. And chemically, she's, there. And Kylie Jenner is still developing. She's still a baby.
Yeah, no, it's young.
But the idea is that hopefully someone is instilling some good, like, some hopeful values in her, and
Right.
she can use her power.
Well, and
For good.
Kylie is responsible for one of my favorite viral moments, which I don't know if you've seen this, the
I see.
Rise and Shine.
Ooh.
Have you seen this?
Yes.
But for our fans,
good one.
It is a good one.
Let's throw it back.
I mean, talking about inspiration.
Technical difficulties, man.
Today is.
We have one last room to visit, and that is Stormy's playroom. So follow me. Okay.
That Chanel,
Stormy,
like, just
and
business
get out of
suit.
here and show you guys her room. Rise and shine.
Rise and
The baby was in complete darkness. If you didn't notice, she flicked the switch, and it was just like, there's a camera. Think about what the scenario is: a cameraman in the
and they've
corner.
been rummaging around for the last hour.
Yes.
Getting cameras and
The
lights
baby's there
out.
alone with the camera guy in the dark.
Right.
Trauma.
And then just,
I'm hoping she's more
rise and
mindful
shine.
of that, but it's like it's so integrated in her world that it is what it is.
Right.
But interesting.
Rise and shine. Fitness again. Okay, I get it, universe. You want me to work out.
We didn't delete it from the.
All right, we're doing one last spin.
That was your take. Is just do it.
Yeah. And, in honor of our beloved friend Alphabet's Colin Ward, he always used to say, just do it, Nike, swoosh it.
Yeah.
And I loved that phrase. And I think about him a lot. And whenever I say that, because I borrowed it and never gave it back, I think some people call it stealing. I think about him. Just do
Nice.
it, Nike, swoosh it.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Reading.
All right, reading is fundamental. It's there's a Lady Gaga verse in the song Applause, which I love that song. Just when I'm in like a little bit of like I need a little bit of energy really quick. Oh yeah, I'm there. Let's do ta 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 ta. She just has the choreography. And she doesn't care that she looks ridiculous doing it or that it's a ridiculous thing. But there's a line where she says, I know you think nostalgia is for geeks, but sorry if my reading offends you. Like, sorry that I read books. And it's snarky, but it's like, wait. You're making all the points. Like, all of your imagery is so based on the fact that you've read a lot of shit. Like, she's very into mythology, archetypes, art history in general. She's referencing filmmaking, just across the board. She's a well-read human. And I appreciate that about her. And I think people bypass that. They just glossed over it. They didn't even, they don't talk to her as if she's an intelligent human being. They're just amazed that she has the audacity to be who she is. And that's what they're more amazed by. And I'm like, but it took a smart fucking brain to decide that that's what they were going to do. Why can't we acknowledge that in her? And we do that for men all the fucking time. We don't ask them, why did you have the audacity to, what made you do that? Just cause? Oh, just cause. No. Right. So it's really giving her credit for putting that out there in the world and say, it's okay to be a fucking nerd. Because you can just as easily pretend to not be a nerd and people are going to accept you any which way. So that means that whatever reality is, whatever you want it to be. That's it. And you choose whether or not, I'm expressing the frustration that people don't treat her more like an intelligent human and more, they're like, oh, you're just a clown or you're just a whatever, a performer, entertainer. But I'm sure she's come to peace with that. That's probably, she's like, I don't need to react to that. I'm just going to be smart and respond smartly. And that's going to be how they, dumb people don't, it's not their fault, Oh, well.
It's not.
It's a reading, yeah. Lady Gaga.
That Gaga. I was really happy with just her song re-emerging in the TikTok Wednesday viral dance.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
I wanna dance with my hands.
Yeah,
but sped up, and that's the kind of postmodern dreamscape we're in. That songs that came out a long time ago take on whole new meanings because they're mixed with new media and with.
It's not even new media. Wednesday Addams is an old character that was revamped. So there's a lot going on.
Right.
There's the revival of a old character where they're like, well, we don't really want to reintroduce the whole family.
Right.
This one character hits certain points, and layered with Gaga, layered with choreography.
Right.
We're talking crazy. Just it's a layer cake. It's delicious. It's wow, yeah.
Right. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast today. And I want to thank everyone for listening. We had a wonderful time at the coffee shop on another episode of Coffee with Matt. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.